Hello, my name is Apollinaria. I am a professional spiritual guide and facilitator. I have 15 plus years of experience doing inner work using somatic, psychological, and mystical modalities. And today I want to talk to you about vulnerability, and very specifically about vulnerability and power actually being two sides of the same coin. I want to talk about how you can't really have a meaningful relationship with one without the other. So you can't have a meaningful relationship with your power without having a meaningful relationship with your vulnerability. And I want to start by saying that it's okay to feel vulnerable. It's okay to feel vulnerable. Everyone does. It's a normal part of the human experience. That itself is not something to fix or transcend. That itself is just something to have a better relationship with. And the process of getting into a better relationship with your vulnerability is the exact same process as getting into a better relationship with your power. So let's talk about why. Let's start by defining vulnerability and power. For the sake of this conversation and this video today, let's define vulnerability as an experience of something that you don't have any control or power over, something that you and your well-being are at the mercy of. Where, on the other hand, power is something that you do have control over, something that you do have ownership over and influence over in some way, right? So vulnerability is when you don't have influence over something and it has influence over you, and power is when you do have influence over something that has influence over you, right? The reality is that both are always there. There are always elements of this life and this world that you don't have meaningful influence over, in just in live day-to-day reality and experience, right? And there are also always things that you do have influence over and you do have power over. And being in right relationship with both of those things, being in right relationship with the things that you are vulnerable to and the things that you do have power over and with, being in right relationship with both of those things allows you to navigate life in a balanced way and in a type of alignment and relationship with what you're experiencing that allows you to navigate life more gracefully and more easefully and ultimately in a more empowered way and alignment. Another way to consider or think about vulnerability is humility, right? Because having an integrated and embodied acceptance of your actual vulnerability manifests as humility. That's the ultimate form of it, right? So you can think of having sort of more proper and more sincerely empowered alignment in this world as having both humility and power, having an equal relationship with both of those parts of yourself in your reality, right? You can, and the empowerment that I'm talking about that comes from this kind of right relationship with these elements is the type of empowerment that I talk about in this video that I'll link over here, which talks about, what empowerment actually means, and specifically empowerment versus domination or being overpowering. So I'll link that over here. And then if you want to explore and understand more deeply what I'm talking about and talking around when I say a deeper state of empowerment is accessible to you in this alignment, I do go over that in this video that I'll link here, which talks about reconnecting to the world and the state of actual sovereignty and true power that you have when you are connected to the world. Think of these three videos, actually, the two I just linked and this one right here, as functionally a 3-part series on power. All of them can work standing alone, but they all really work together as a whole, as a series, as a unified piece. But yeah, for today, for now, for this video, if you want to go a little bit more into what I'm saying now, look at those videos. But for just this video specifically, we are looking at power and vulnerability, or power and humility, as a state of balance, right? Relating to both of these elements as a state of balance necessary for true, deep actual empowerment and grace in this life and in this world. Now, with that said, vulnerability is the thing that I do want to focus on specifically here in this video, and like being in right relationship with vulnerability is what I want to focus on specifically because it's something that's so hard for most people. Like, it is a huge challenge and a huge block collectively to like our species and to people in general right now. So I want to take some time to really go into and dig into what I mean by being in right relationship with vulnerability. Listen, sometimes some things are just out of your control, and that is scary, and that's okay. You know, sometimes you are reliant on or inescapably connected to people or places or things or systems that hurt you or that strain you or that make life harder for you, right? And you know, sometimes we are in like a long process of navigating our life and negotiating our alignment to escape these forces and to actually like, you know, have them have decreasing influence over us or to shed them entirely. And sometimes that's not an option, whether it's for some time or whether it's for a lifetime. Sometimes we are just inescapably connected to things that hurt us or harm us or strain us or scare us in some way. And you know, I'm looking at families. I'm looking at capitalism. I'm looking at even things like poor health or you know, some kind of like anxiety disorders, trauma. I'm even looking at things like love. Like, being in love and loving someone puts you in a position where you just are vulnerable to them, period. Your heart, your health, your life, your emotional well-being, your psychological well-being is vulnerably given to someone that you fall in love with and that you develop an ever-deepening relationship with, at least if you're doing it right and doing it for real, you know? So one way or another, you just are going to be vulnerable in to forces that either do harm you or stress you or have the capacity to. Like, that just is going to be a part of life. And again, that can be scary and challenging and awful to come to terms with, especially depending on the thing that you're coming to terms with, the hardship that you're coming to terms with. But come to terms with it, you must. Step one is you have to accept it and let it be what it is. Even if you are changing it, like, you have to actually let yourself feel it as it is right now and let yourself feel vulnerable as you are right now. And like, okay, you can't do anything. You are in front of, like, let's say, for the sake of us moving through this right now, let's say there's a person or something in your life that you really cannot change that is hurting you or straining you or stressing you in some way. You can't do anything about it. What now? Feel into it is the next step. Let yourself feel vulnerable. Let yourself feel the fear, the grief, the terror, the agony, the pain, the panic, whatever is coming up in you, whatever you're scared to let yourself vulnerably feel, or whatever you're at least reflexively like not letting yourself feel into, feel that thing. This thing has power over you. You don't have power over it. You can't change this circumstance right now. You can't change this person. You can't change this world or whatever. Feel it. Feel the fear, feel the anger, feel the rage, feel the frustration, feel it. Do whatever you need to do to fully feel it. Cry, scream, do breath work, highly recommend. Create art, create music, run, do whatever you can and whatever you need to fully let yourself feel that feeling to its completion, okay? And once that is done, once you let yourself be vulnerable and feel all of those scary feelings, then you can start transitioning into the power. Because the reality is, something is always going to be within your power. And once you let yourself feel powerless and let all of that emotional charge and fear and everything just like move through you, then it's time to access what power you actually do have over this situation, because you can, you know, maybe exert boundaries, whether they're subtle boundaries or more like imposing serious boundaries. Maybe it's a time for you to exercise or learn how to exercise that. Maybe it's, you know, the thing that's making you feel powerless. It's time for you to start making some changes in your life or your routine or your lifestyle or something that puts you on a trajectory of getting out of those circumstances or getting away from those people or changing your health or changing whatever you do feel powerless over. Maybe the next thing that you need to do and you need to take power and ownership over is coming to terms with the fact that some things take time, and it's not that you're completely powerless, it's that, you know, you just need to be patient and strong in the meantime while you do make the changes that you can make and you are responsible for making. Maybe also, you know, the thing to do that you do have power over is to make sincere peace of some kind with the things or the people or the aspects of your life or reality or your health or whatever that you can't change. And maybe on an even deeper level, there's like an opportunity or a need for you to change your relationship with life or your relationship with yourself in some way to navigate a world where you don't have power over this thing and you are actually powerless in this way, but like, how can you still feel okay with life? How can you still feel some sense of rightness in this world? You know, how do you need to change your understanding of yourself or your life to make that okay, you know? Maybe you can find God. Maybe you can find a good therapist. Maybe you can find a good book or a good teacher in some way. Something that can reorganize and rearrange your perspective to allow for this thing that you don't have power over, to allow for you to relate to it in like a sincerely peaceful way. All of these things you do actually have power over, even if there are things that you don't have power over, either in an immediate way or in like a real, larger and lifelong kind of way. And allowing yourself to actually be vulnerable and be powerless allows you to actually be empowered in the ways that, again, are always in reality available to you. I think this video is going to be a pretty quick one because I think it's like succinct and to the point, you know. Most people just don't even have a proper reference for being in relationship to this vulnerability. So that's just what this video primarily is. It's an invitation to be in deeper and better relationship with your vulnerability and to, you know, allow that relationship with your vulnerability to be the jumping off point to a deeper relationship with, again, your power. And having a meaningful relationship with both, again, not only allows you to access a state of being, which makes navigating life more easeful and more graceful, it also just kind of contributes to you being a more well-adjusted and spiritually mature human being in general, which I do highly recommend. If not for yourself, for the people around you and for the world around you. That would be a really cool and great thing to do, because we need a lot more of those right now. This world is in pretty desperate need for a lot more of those right now. So that's all for today. If the video resonated with you, feel free to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I will catch you next time. Bye-bye.